Now we welcome our guest of honor, Shri T.S. Singh Deo, Honorable Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Government of Chhattisgarh. Welcome, sir.
On behalf of ET Health World, the Economic Times, I welcome Mr. T.S. Singh Deo, Minister for Health and Family Welfare, Government of Chhattisgarh, in the Economic Times Healthcare Leaders Summit, Rising Beyond Barriers. I welcome you, Mr. Singh Deo.
Thank you, RPG. Good evening.
Thank you, sir. And we shall be discussing about power of technology and digital transforming the healthcare ecosystem and roadblocks to the sector's progress. Sir, my first question to you is, what has been the experience of Chhattisgarh government in using technology in the public healthcare ecosystem?
Arpit, it has been helpful. There is little doubt about that because we are in the nascent stage. So it is not revolutionary yet, but it has certainly been helpful. It has been helpful for us to trace the supply of drugs, vaccines, etc. It has been helpful to us in the Malaria Mukt Bastar, Malaria Mukt Chhattisgarh Abhiyan. It has been helpful in tracing patients during COVID time. Bed-wise, we were able to monitor from the medical college at Raipur. Our doctors were able to guide the doctors at the district level. So we have the Mitanin program. So digital technology has helped us bridge the payment to the Mitanins from about 1.5 to 2 years gap to almost every month. We are probably being able to remunerate our Mitanins 94%, approximately 94 to 96% Mitanins are being paid monthly now, whatever the remuneration is. Earlier, it was helter-skelter. There was no real track of what was happening to whom. So it is certainly helpful. There is little doubt about that. We cannot maintain vaccination without IT efficiently. We cannot maintain so many other parameters without IT. So IT is a major tool to be used. Its reach needs to be widened, which we will over a period of time.
Sir, if you can just highlight some of your potential partners who all are helping you implement technology in healthcare system.
We are doing it through our own. We have an organization called CHIPS, Chhattisgarh Technology. That is the center we have here. So basically, it is CHIPS. Then we have Government of India, who is also providing us with portals. They're providing us with platforms. So we are linking ourselves with them. For example, in the TB program, in the leprosy program. So there are portals which are available nationally.
Right, sir. Right. My next question to you is, what has been your experience of managing the COVID-19 pandemic and vaccination program so far?
It has been challenging. Initially, nobody knew anything about COVID. I'm talking about January 2020. So that is when we started putting in place the rapid response team at the district level with the collector at the head of the rapid response team, because multi-departmental coordination was necessary. So from those early days where we didn't have PPE kits, where the country had only one testing laboratory, where there was a sense of apprehension and even maybe fear about this disease. It is likely to be very, very harmful. Nobody knows anything about it. So from those times where everybody knew very little about this infection, to today where we have gone through the second wave, it has hit us very hard. We have lost 13,558 individuals in Chhattisgarh, including some who are other state individuals who had come here for treatment. So it has been a hard learning experience. The facilities that were there were limited. Medicines were there in short supply. So all this we have lived through, and we are at a much more comfortable position, I feel, today, where experience is there with us, and the supply chain has improved. A testing kit, if it was costing 500 rupees, 700 rupees earlier, a rapid testing kit is costing less than 50 rupees today. So there has been a vast change where initially hydrochloroquine was supposed to be the wonder drug, to realization where ivermectin may not be necessarily very helpful, to being very careful about those patients who have, let us say, diabetic conditions, where if you have a diabetic condition and you're giving them steroids, it could lead to black fungal infections. So there's been a lot of learning, and it has been an opportunity for us to ramp up our infrastructure. Oxygen supply, we were never short of oxygen as such in Chhattisgarh because our production was higher than our consumption. Our high peak consumption was 180 metric tons in a day, and our production in Chhattisgarh is 388. So as such, Chhattisgarh was not short of availability of oxygen. But to see that the cylinders were there, if the cylinders are not there, what would you do with the oxygen which is being produced? To see the pipelines, oxygen pipelines, whether they were in place, where you did not have oxygen pipelines available, oxygen on a pipeline, whether through a cylinder or through your production unit. Oxygen generating plants were also there available and put up. Liquid oxygen tanks were there in some places. Now we have had the opportunity to see and realize and multiply that. We started in September last to put in oxygen generating plants. And now the government of India has also pitched in. So 49 plants are now being made available through DRDO, Government of India agencies. The rest 56, 57, we are pitching up. The experience of RT-PCR testing, like I mentioned earlier, there's only one lab in Pune. NIV was the only lab in the country which was able to diagnose or verify whether a patient had corona. Now we have 10 laboratories, 9 laboratories in our medical colleges and 6 in the district hospitals in the process of being placed there. 10 are functional, 5 will be functional very soon as we get the machinery. So between oxygen supply, between testing facilities, between rational purchasing, like I mentioned, PPE kits were selling at that time for 2,000, 3,000 rupees, and they were just not available. So how do you provide service if the PPE kit is not available for the health practitioner, the nurses, the staff who would be going in to look after the patient? So from those days, we are finding ourselves in a very much more comfortable situation. Though after being very hardly hit by the second wave, now we have home isolation facilities, permissions are there for home isolation. So 80 to 90% of the people are going for home isolation. So that's a considerably big load of the public health infrastructure to provide every patient with a bed. Earlier in the first wave, we did that. It was a big effort. But by the time the second wave came, home isolation had started. So 80 to 90, 85 to 90% of the patients are adopting home isolation. Then to follow them in home isolation. So they are being checked daily. SpO2 levels are not falling. Whether medicines which the government was providing free of cost, a person tests positive, he and his family were provided with the free medicine. So whether that medicine was being made available or not, doctors on call to each patient, with where they were private, maybe with a charge, where they were government free of charge. So doctors should be calling a patient, every patient 2 or 3 times in a day to check whether they were comfortable, whether the SpO2 levels were satisfactory, 94, around 94, 94 plus. So a lot of these things we learned in the process. And I think we are in a better position to meet a possible third wave, which will be lesser. I'm sure with the impact of vaccination, it will be lesser. The vaccination experience has been, again, mixed in the sense that we have vaccinated between 35 to 40% of the targeted population, dose 1 and 2. We need to vaccinate about 4 crore doses in Chhattisgarh. We have vaccinated about 1 crore 55 to 1 crore 60 lakh doses. So about 40% of the population has been administered first and second dose. So if we have a capacity of being able to vaccinate a minimum of 3 lakh patients in a day, we can do 5 lakhs in a day. So Chhattisgarh has a capacity of being able to vaccinate 1 to 1.5 crore patients every month. And if our capacity or our target is 4 crore, then our job would be done in 2 months' time. But the vaccines are not available. But we need to be careful with testing. Our testing is dropping a little. It must not go below 30,000. We would be happy if we are able to test 40,000 patients, people every day. But it is dipping down a little because the positives are coming less. So I suppose there is a little sense that we don't need to test more, but we must be careful on that. So testing has to be ensured. and vaccination, we are limited by the supply that is available. For the third wave, we have put in place oxygen and other infrastructure. We are targeting ICU beds in a big way, which was a big deficiency. In the second phase, we were very short of ICU beds. Today, we don't need ICU beds, we will feel, because you don't have the patients. But tomorrow, if the wave comes, then you will be short of beds again. So you have to plan for the peak of the wave, not at the low point of the infection. That is the mistake which the health department has been making in the country. Health services in the country have been making throughout the decades. We plan for today. We are not ramping up our infrastructure for the possibility of tomorrow. We were hit by COVID and we were completely unprepared. We didn't have the infrastructure. Big countries, Italy was supposed to have among the best infrastructures in the world. Even they were at a losing end. They were in a very bad situation. They're not being able to cope up with the number of patients which were coming. Then home isolation came and things eased out. But the number of ICU beds available, that has to be ramped up. We are taking it up to at least 4 to 6 ICU beds in every community health center. Every district hospital should have a minimum of, let us say, 40 ICU beds. If we have 28 districts, so 28 into 40. And each medical college must have a minimum of 100 ICU beds, more, not today, more. And the bigger medical college, let us say at Raipur, 200 beds more. So we have planned about 1,390 more ICU beds, at least, so that staff we will need. I'm sure the government is helping, and it will help with the budget for the infrastructure, because salaries have to be paid. That is a service sector. Salaries you have to pay. Medicines, drugs, money for that is not much in short supply. We have enough money to purchase and provide drugs and testing facilities, but manpower, we need to look into.
Sir, what is the latest on providing affordable diagnostic services at every district hospital that was planned by you?
We have launched in Raipur, and because of COVID, we were not able to take it forward. Now, every district, every CHC, every PHC, every sub-health center, through a hub and spoke model, this will be put in place latest by the end of this financial year. We have already started. Department has given me a much more optimistic timeline. I am relaxing it and saying up to March 22. End of March 22, all district hospitals, all community health centers, they will be linked to this system. So the system will be free diagnostic healthcare. Every blood test sample that you send, you will not have to pay anything. So the procedure will be to take your sample from the village or the sub-health center. You don't need to come to the district to give your sample. Your sample will be taken there and it will be sent to the laboratory where Hamar Lab is what we are naming it. We have already named it Hamar Lab. So Hamar means Hamara. Hamara aapka ye Hamara lab rahega testing ke liye. And there this sample will be sent, and we are making arrangements for online sample results to be conveyed to the patient on his phone. So you don't need to come to collect the report even. That report will be made available there. This is what we are looking at. And I am very confident that this will be in place latest by March end.
And that is how you are bringing revolution in the healthcare sector in Chhattisgarh, Mr. Singhdev. My next and last question to you is, how is your approach to revolutionize healthcare further and make it future ready? Over to you.
We have to include IT also, the IT platform, to improve specialized healthcare and information also. Like in COVID times, our doctors in the medical college at Raipur were tutoring our doctors at the district level and tele-following the patient. The doctor could go inside the ward on the mobile, put the patient in touch with the specialist at the medical college. And this is what telemedicine is about. So we implemented that during COVID times. All our medical colleges, all our district hospitals were linked to the tele platform. And it was a good experience. It was a successful experience. So that is one platform which we need to expand. I mentioned Mithanins. So we have 70,000 Mithanins, and they are all linked to that Mithanin portal. They are getting benefits for that. So one aspect of improving the quality and the delivery of healthcare will be establishing a stable IT platform. The other would be identifying each individual. Unless you identify every individual of the state, then you will not be able to approach him or to provide healthcare. Somebody outside the net will not be in your focus. So that number that is to be provided, that health card number, like the Aadhaar card number, that will be provided to each citizen to put him on the rolls of the state government, that you are eligible for healthcare and this is a number through which you are linked. So not only consulting, not only treatment, but also reports, and the report will be stored on that platform, so that if you have to go to another health institution, you don't have to carry that report. It will be available on that your mobile. You put the number, you'll have the safety ID card, safety number with you, password, you'll have the password, so that everybody cannot approach your account, your health account. So that will be there. Then we are at the upper end, increasing the number of medical colleges. Our current target is to have a medical college in each Lok Sabha constituencies. We have 11 Lok Sabha constituencies, and today we have 6 medical colleges running, 3 sanctioned. 1 we are taking over a private medical college, which makes it 10, and then 1 Lok Sabha seat, which is Champa Janjgir. That is left. So our next target is, as soon as the Government of India announces its next program for new medical colleges, we'll be asking for that. So then all Lok Sabha constituencies are linked, will be having 1 medical college. Whether we can go down lower to each Vidhan Sabha or each district is a thing of the future. But today, of the 28 districts we have, 4 new have been announced, 32. Some more may be announced in the future, that is to be seen. But each district to have a medical college is in the future. Today, of the 32 districts that we have 10 medical colleges. So that is the reach of the tertiary care sector. Then strengthening these medical colleges, improving their promotional facilities, their in-house promotions, so that more doctors are there, getting in doctors through a bonded system. The new doctors who pass out graduate and postgraduate courses, we have a 2-year bond provision. The public money is providing for your education. So please serve the public for 2 years. Through that, we have been able to fill almost all medical officers. That is the graduate level posts that we have. We have about 111 pending. When we came, it was a much larger number. So we will be able to have as many doctors as sanctioned. And in the future, if we are having 650 or 700 doctors passing out each year, so you have 700 more medical hands available, which posts you don't have today. That is in the future. Then postgraduates. Postgraduates were limited by filling in through promotions. So there we have improved the promotion, and 50% of the posts we are advertising for direct recruitment. If you wait for promotions, then the posts lie vacant till promotion comes about. So 5-year promotion we have reduced to 2 years. For this year, we have made a provision that 2 years postgraduates who are serving as graduate level, let us say they are, after their internment, they are in a probationary period. So this probation of 5 years we have reduced to 2 years, so that they get shifted up to medical specialist posts. And these posts at the medical officer level, which will fall vacant, they will be filled up by the new children, new students who will be passing every year and who will be coming. So this is providing the manpower. This is the specialized manpower. Then nurses. So the posts of the nurses, we are trying to seek sanction of more and more nurses, technicians, those below the posts, below the specialized doctor level, MS, MD and MBBS level. So those service providers that we need at the next level, there we are expanding by getting, this is a service sector. So you need manpower to provide service. So those are the sort of things we are trying to streamline and get into place. and of course, the infrastructure side. So putting money into improving infrastructure, providing two operating theaters in every CHC, two new operating theaters. Like I mentioned, the ICU beds. So you need ICU beds, so you need infrastructure, more space for Hummer lab. So each CHC will have another infrastructure, means a building, a room where you'll be able to test. So services, vision, budget, construction. We are trying to get all this together and hoping for a much better health service delivery than it was. I cannot say nothing is perfect. Perfect is what you visualize. So you like to visualize perfection and try to be as near as possible. It's a big challenge, but as near as very, very good as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Singhdev, for sharing these insights with the Economic Times. With this, I conclude today's session, and I really thank you for taking time out from your busiest schedule and talking
Thank you,
to us.
Arvind. Thank you so much.
much.
Bye-bye. All the